Okay, so I just want to show some pictures out of this video. This is the beaver researcher. She's talking about beavers making the water to prevent the forest fires. Alright, so here's one of the pictures. Okay, so in this picture, here's this purple circle. Let's see if I can make this bigger. Here's this purple circle. That's the lodge. Okay, so this is a stream. This is not that big of an area. A beaver lodge can be kind of big, but this is on the scale of like, well, here's 100 meters. So here's 100 meters. So this is like 3 football fields long, this stream section right here. And so that means that this is like 5-10 meters across this lodge. So it's a family of beavers. And these red lines are the dams, and these blue lines are channels that the beavers dig. So the beavers don't just build the dams and the lodge, they also build these channels. And the channels can be underground. You can potentially not see them. They can be like tunnels that are in water, but these are channels. So little trenches they fill with water. And so these blue lines are all the ways that beavers resulted in there being not something terribly dissimilar from a little stream, like a little canal, all over this area where there's all this water that is going to be there because the beaver's there. So in like a man-made drain, you know, this is like concrete walls and the water runs off very quickly and then it goes away. So look at all these dams the beaver built. And so there's all this water and there's all these channels filled with water. And so the whole area is very, well, it's like a wetland, but at any rate, this is just a visualization of like what, you know, the beaver dam areas might look like. So she has all these pictures on here. Yeah, and so look, the water table's like really big here. She goes on about the wildfires. These are the channels again. Here's some graphic visualization. They're talking about how where there's no beaver channels, there was fire everywhere. They're trying to use AI to identify beaver stuff. Anyways, so then if I go back, look at some of my AI generated art. Well, here's a real picture of a beaver dam. So here's a real picture. You can see there's the dam. This water's higher than this water. And then they would be digging all the channels all up in here. Probably all down here too. There'd be dam after dam after dam after dam. And she talks about this, like one thing that the beavers are doing with all these dams is that when it rains a lot, there's flooding. And so here's the beavers. Yeah, so here's the dam network, a side view of what it might look like in my artist rendition. Here's some more pictures of beaver dams. Here's my pictures of the legend of Atlantis, Beaver Dam, Atlantis. Okay, so yeah, so here's some AI generated art. These are all Beaver Dam art. Yeah, this one's a pretty good one. just like different AI generated art for beaver dams. This one's pretty cool. Yeah. So here's an interesting thing where it suggests this study is showing that beavers had a big influence on how people in the Stone Age lived. So food, clothing, and tools created a landscape hospitable to many other species. You know, hunter-gatherers hunted beavers for their meat, fur, and I don't know what's a castorium. So the people like to live in these beaver landscapes because there was lots of food and resources, rich biodiversity. Woodworking tools. For thousands of years, there was human-beaver cohabitation in an environment. Yeah. So then a recap of what is the legend of Beaver Dam Atlantis. So the legend of Beaver Dam Atlantis is my fable that I'm making. And basically, according to Plato, 10,000 years before the Greeks. Okay, so here's the Greeks. So out beyond the Pillars of Hercules, there existed a nation of Atlantis. And instead of being like a land out here, the Atlanteans had a secret. They kept it a secret. And it was actually right here on the Taman Resset River Valley, which 10,000 years before the Greeks was a lush river valley. And the Atlanteans built basically beaver dams, a huge network of beaver dams, and this red circle right here, it's the Eye of Mauritania. And so the Eye of Mauritania has gotten some attention in the last couple of years in Atlantis conspiracy theory circles, where they talk about these concentric rings matching the descriptions of the city of Atlantis, which, if you went out the Pillars of Hercules and came up this river valley, and there was beaver dams everywhere, you might actually be able to paddle a boat right up into this area for all we know. Humans can make big reservoirs that are there for thousands of years by constantly having generation after generation expand the infrastructure. And then one day it all flooded out by the dams failed and all of the water came washing out. And actually there's this fellow Randall Carlson, and this is all desert now. He says that there's evidence of cataclysmic flooding across this whole landscape. And so then here's the Atlas Mountains. And so then if the Atlantis was here and it was all knee deep in water the whole time it was Atlantis, and then a giant rains came and everything got stressed to the max, and then the dams broke and washed everything out to a cataclysmic flood that wiped out everybody who lived there before the time of Egypt, then all of those ideas would line up. So the objective of the legend of Beaver Dam Atlantis is not to propose that Atlantis was real, or that it existed, or that it had a location. But instead, it is a fable to be enjoyed, where the person who entertains the idea thinks about all of the ways that they can correlate the real world to this fantasy world. And So basically, um, a there must be a reason why the legend of Atlantis exists. So this fable of an ancient civilization that was wiped out by flooding probably just didn't come out of nowhere. Probably people really told that story. Just like the pagans had all kinds of crazy tales. And flood myths are around the world. And so the legend of Beaver Dam Atlantis is kind of like a fable project to expand on the idea that in the Stone Age, during the Stone Age, people did live with beavers, and they did learn from beavers, and they built beaver dams, and potentially some people even built extensively beaver dam environments, and it filled with beavers, and there was lots of beaver damming going on, but the dams would fail, and it would be catastrophic. Maybe not on the scale of a global flood event catastrophe, but, fables are designed to pass knowledge to future generations. So perhaps the legend of Atlantis came about because people were telling their children not to dam up the streams. Don't do that, because if you have a river, a little stream in your backyard, one thing that ultimately children always do is try to build a dam in it. But dams are dangerous. So on the one hand, yes, we are aware of all the benefits that beaver dams have for the environment. They make unlimited resources and create a paradise. But ultimately the dam will break, and then everything that's downstream of that dam is going to get flooded out by a big flash flood that shows up like a wall of water. And in the Stone Age, I can only imagine, all the way through the Bronze Age and all the way through the Iron Age, all the way up into the very modern era, I can only imagine that children would go to a stream or something like that, start throwing rocks in there, and pretty soon they were building a dam. And then the adults would come out and be like, now children, you can't be building a dam in that stream. We're not damming the stream. Nobody dams the stream. Damming is something that is done very carefully. You don't just dam anywhere. And one of the stories that might have evolved that parents would tell children, just like, be good because Santa Claus will bring you presents. Everybody be good. Santa Claus is going to bring you presents. Don't dam up the river, children. Long ago, there was a civilization of people who built an incredible network of dams till all as far as the eye could see was water in every direction. Dams and dams and dams. But then one day, the dam failed, and all of the dams below it failed, and all of this water came out and washed out and killed everybody, and the civilization was lost forever. And ever since then, we do not dam like that. We have very specific ways of damming. We're very careful. We're very safe about it. So the objective of the legend of Beaver Dam Atlantis basically is to create a fable that would fit in line with fantastic history, but also to explore these ideas, like maybe these are children's stories to keep them from building dams, or maybe people really did build during the Stone Age. Maybe there really was an Atlantis, and for generations people built impressive networks of dams, but as technology advanced, the dams were a lot of work. For a while it was okay because people didn't do nothing else but live on the dams and keep repairing them, just like a beaver. But over time, people would get interested in new trinkets from lands far away, and they wouldn't spend as much time taking care of the dams, and the dams would fail, and it would cause problems for everybody else. And then for a while there was like a period of time where people did more and more damming, and then there was like a peak of Atlantis civilizations that was a world-spanning culture where people built dams everywhere. And there was just this period of time where people had time for it. And then as a result of the success of this world-spanning civilization, there got to be new technology. And as technology spread around, people got less and less interested in constantly maintaining dams. One little dam fails here, one little dam fails there, people start to get scared. They start taking dams out on purpose, because if one fails, if that one fails, then it's going to be catastrophic. It's better to drain it intentionally and just work with that. And then there would be a whole era where they were constantly draining and destroying and removing dams. And then we moved into another era after that where people were now using different land use practices. Agriculture had changed, and they were specifically killing beavers as pests, which is what was going on right up until the very modern era. So more modern times, all the way through all of American history until right now. Like, when America was founded as a country, we were right in the middle of doing this. If there was beavers, you cleared them out, because they're gonna flood your farmland. They're gonna cause all kind of problems. You know, beavers are a pest, specifically because they go cutting down the trees and building a dam. You know. So that's kind of like what the legend of Beaver Dam Atlantis is about. And it's not really like, there's no goal, like I'm not trying to spread some kind of moral to the story, but I'm just kind of caught up in the interest of beavers that's so popular right now, and then just this is a fable, and it's just for entertainment, my own entertainment. Here's the fable of the legend of Beaver Dam Atlantis, which I do plan to make coincide perfectly with Plato's Atlantis. Alright, that's my video.